has no boundary. Them can't bully the way me feel. I fight for you and you fight for me. Them can't stop the way them wish and them hope and them fight and them pray. Them can't stop this warrior love. Living in a house with a bed and a broke down fridge. I was there, I me cook the cabbage. When things seem to go from bad to worse, a kiss from your lips seemed to break the curse. Now that we live in glorious, there's no way I forget when it was just you and I trying hard to get by. Behind every strong man there is a good woman. That's who I live to be. You seem to be pleased with who I am, cause you're the strongest man I've ever seen. I'm a whole lot of woman, full of everything and love is worth. For you to have me on your mind always, you must be carrying the weight of the earth. Them can't stop the way I feel for you. My love has no boundary. Them can't bully the way I feel. I fight for you and you fight for me. Them can't stop the way they wish and them hope and them fight and them pray. Them can't stop this warrior love. The love we know we are will lead us to joy. Making burn down the wicked with the living fire. And the rod of correction will give us direction away from the Eden and bless us with children. Them can't stop the way I feel for you. My love has no boundary. Them can't bully the way I feel. I fight for you and you fight for me. Them can't stop the way they wish and them hoping and fighting and pray. Them can't stop this warrior love. Oh, them can't stop the way I feel for you. My love has no boundary. Them can't bully the way I feel. Them can't stop the way they wish and them hoping and fighting and pray. Them can't stop this warrior love. Can't stop my love for you. Wish and I'm hoping and fighting and praying.
Okay, wow. Applause for Etana. And if we could just close that screen, our technical operator, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And as I said, applause for Etana. So greetings, everyone. My name is Vereen Shepherd, and I will indeed try to be true to my name today and shepherd you through this event, which is the first of a four-part series, which will be presented by the government of Jamaica in collaboration with the High Commission of South Africa and various partners of the University of the West Indies. I'm hearing a feedback. I'm not sure what's going on. Which is the first of a four-part series. I will have to pause because we have to get rid of the feedback. Okay.
Prof, I think it might be a problem. I just muted the mic of the other person broadcasting and it stopped. So I'm not sure if that was the feedback you were hearing.
Yes, perhaps I was hearing myself twice.
Right. So I muted his mic. I'm not sure if he can transmit otherwise, but we'll work on that. Continue.
Okay. So let me continue. So I was just saying that this event today is the first of a four-part series, which will be presented by the government of Jamaica in collaboration with the High Commission of South Africa and various partners at the University of the West Indies. And of course, as plans are finalized, we will let you all know about it. So we're here today to have an e-conversation between Jamaica and Africa, specifically South Africa, that will address three important R's: resistance, resilience, and recognition. There are, of course, two other related R's, reparation and reconciliation, which I'm sure will be referenced because resistance had historically and has in the modern era clear objectives of reparative justice, peace, and reconciliation. In this regard, I pay tribute to all the freedom fighters of South Africa and Jamaica who typified resilience in their resistance and who forced recognition of our race and of women's rights, and whose experiences we center as we catalog the fight in this modern 21st battle for reparatory justice. This conversation is taking place during the midpoint of the United Nations International Decade for People of African Descent. And based on the tremendous support that I, the Jamaican chair of the working group at the time, received from South Africa as we battled to get state parties to support the decade and the program of activities for the International Decade, it is really fitting that this event, part of Jamaica's own program of action for the International Decade for People of African Descent, involves our two countries. The program of activities presents opportunities for us to select and highlight the shared experiences that we, as former colonized spaces by similar European countries, can use to empower each other. One of these is prolonged and unyielding resistance to oppressive regimes. And women in our two countries have been involved in such struggles. Our pioneer historian of women's history, the late Ambassador Lucille Mathurin Mayer, has cataloged them for us, starting, of course, with Queen Nana of the Maroons. But we also know about Eliza and Jane Whittingham, who were among the over 40 women who fought in the final Emancipation War in Jamaica and were hanged. She has told us, and other historians have told us about Rosanna Finlayson, Sarah Johnson, Caroline Grant of the 1865 Morant Bay War, who attacked the indecency of British colonialism. We owe Lucille Mathurin Mayer a debt of gratitude for excavating Jamaican women from deep layers of distortion and invisibility. She said, in the early 1960s, I started to seek out the women of Jamaica's past during the period of slavery. Women of all classes and of all colors, black, brown, white. There was almost nothing to guide such a search. There was, in fact, nothing in modern historical scholarship about the women who came before me. But this was not surprising, she says, for historiography, which has for centuries been a male academic preserve, has been stunningly devoid of a consciousness of women as significant beings. Things have changed. The publication of 60 Outstanding Women by the Jamaica Gleaner and the late Peter Ferguson's 101 Change Makers introduced us to Jamaican women of the past and present eras who have held up, I think, more than half of the sky. Mayer herself, who played a role in Queen Nana becoming a national heroine, became an activist because of the women she met in her research, which changed her life. By her own admission, wonderful things happened on the journey into that rebel past. I can only briefly indicate the personal process of self-growth it meant. No one could spend so many years in the company of such women and remain the same. The expansion of one's emotional and intellectual resources, the deepened pride in one's inheritance and in one's womanhood were inevitable. Many of the South African freedom fighters like Albertina Sisulu, Winnie Mandela, Lillian Ngoyi, Helen Joseph, Rahima Musa are perhaps well known. But some like Navi Pillay, Cheryl Carolus, Fumzile Mlambo, and Cheryl Carolus are not so well known. But you will hear about some of them and from some of them today. Indeed, some of them who you may not know about are here with us. And so to welcome you, our audience, and those who are going to speak with you today, I turn to Mrs. Lolita Davis Mattis to give the official welcome. But let me just say a little bit about her. She's currently General Counsel at the University of the West Indies and a member of the Executive Management Team. She's also adjunct lecturer in the Faculty of Law at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies in the areas of international environmental law and Caribbean environmental law. She's also an adjunct lecturer in the Faculty of Science and Technology in the Environmental Management Unit, where she lectures in environmental law and policy. She's currently the chair of the National Council on Reparation, a position she has held for the past 4 years, and she's a member of the CARICOM Reparation Commission. She has held the post of Executive Director and later Chairman of the Jamaica National Heritage Trust. She is also Director on the Board of the National Commission for UNESCO and Chair of the Culture Subcommittee. She's a member of the World Commission on Environmental Law, the National Association of College and University Attorneys, and the Society for Research Administrators. And in 2017, she received the National Award for her contribution to the development of the Jamaica National Heritage Trust and the development of environmental law. So, Mrs. Davis-Mattis, I give you the floor to give the official welcome.
Thank you very much to my very own colleague, Professor Vereen Shepherd, Director of the Center for Reparations Research. I will say a little bit about her a little later, but first let me acknowledge the Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports, Honorable Olivia Grange, who is responsible for the National Council on Reparations here in Jamaica. Her Excellency Lunka Yengeni, High Commissioner Designate of the Republic of South Africa to Jamaica, Ms. Batabile Tamini, President of the ANC Women's League in South Africa, Ms. Precious Banda, Convener, Young Women's Desk, ANC Women's League. I also acknowledge the presence of Dr. Hilary Brown from the CARICOM Secretariat, and as she deals with the CARICOM Reparations Council. And I also see among our members, Mr. Rudy Page, who is now Director of International Diaspora Relations Countryside Community Tourism Network out of London. And I understand, Rudy, that you're also streaming live. And of course, I want to say welcome to our distinguished guests. You're all distinguished guests, and especially for our late notification for this webinar. I see so many people online, and I understand the interest of us all in these discussions. I also want to say that these discussions are being initiated by the National Council on Reparations as well as the ministry, and we recognize the need to have many conversations relating to reparatory justice in general, internal reparations, as well as having those discussions with Africa in its various forms, its various contexts, and how that relates to reparatory justice as we pursue it within the Caribbean region. I'm just going to introduce Professor Shepherd in the interest of time, which many of you, most of us know her, but for those of us who don't know so much about her, my introduction to her is going to be very, very brief. So Professor Shepherd is a graduate of the University of the West Indies and the University of Cambridge. She's a Professor Emerita of Social History at the UWI, as well as being Director of the Center for Reparation Research and a published author of 7 books, a radio host, a scholar activist, especially in the areas of women's rights, human rights, and reparatory justice. And I may also say very outspoken, very unapologetic about her areas of interest and passion. She is the immediate past director of the Institute for Gender and Development Studies at the UWI. As a UN expert, she has played a role in helping to implement the UN International Year for People of African Descent and overseeing the drafting of the program of activities for the UN International Decade for People of African Descent, while she was chair of the working group on experts on people of African descent. She had the honor of addressing South African women at the Presidential Gala Dinner in honor of South African women in August 2004 on South American Women's Day, while she was in South Africa at the invitation of President Mbeki. I also want to say that Professor Shepherd is, apart from being my colleague, that her office is beside mine, apart from being my colleague, she was also former chair of the Jamaica National Heritage Trust. And I'm proud to say we worked on many, many projects at the time that were geared solely at highlighting our cultural heritage. In the interest of time, I'm going to stop here and thank you all again for joining. I know we're going to have a great session, and back over to you, Professor.
Save you from the noises outside. So thank you, Lalita. I want to now ask the High Commissioner, Her Excellency, Lumka Yengeni, to introduce the South African delegation and say a few words on her own involvement in political activism in South Africa, ahead of our South African guests making their own contribution. More specifically, I want her to introduce the president. Now, let me tell you a little bit about her. Ambassador Lumka Yengeni was appointed as High Commissioner Designate of South Africa to Jamaica in 2019 and has been a Member of Parliament of South Africa's National Assembly since 2004. She's also an active member of the African National Congress, the ANC, South Africa's ruling party. She holds an Executive Leadership Program certificate from UNISA and an Executive Leadership Program certificate from Rhodes University. So, Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Professor. Just one correction, I'm not the member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. I am the member of the ANC. And thank you. I think you have said a mouthful about me. I will then continue the open remarks. Madam Moderator, Professor Veren Shepherd, Honorable Olivia Range, the Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports, members of the Diplomatic Corps, leadership, and the members of the Women's League, ladies and gentlemen, and all protocol observed. It is my honor today as South African High Commissioner to Jamaica and other 13 Caribbean islands to bring greetings on behalf of my government, loving people of South Africa, and also to introduce the keynote speaker, President of the ANC Women's League, Ms. Bathabile Dlamini. In this International Decade of People of African Descent and Black History Month, it is no better time to pause as people of Africa and people of African descent to recognize and celebrate a strong common history of resistance and resilience in the face of historical hardship and multiple aggravated discrimination faced by our women and girls of both continental Africa and her diaspora. As South African women, we have experienced the brutality of discrimination during the apartheid era, characterized by racial segregation and white supremacy, both colonialism of a special type in South Africa and enslavement system faced by the Jamaican people are two sides of the same coin. Under both systems, the color of the skin was the determinant of a life of a privileged and dignity or underprivileged and indignity. The overthrowing of both brutal, inhuman systems in our countries led to the emergence of the democratic governance of the people by the people. It is not by accident that today Jamaica and South Africa are facing similar challenges in terms of crime, unemployment rates, etc. It is because of the legacy of the two brutal systems that both countries inherited from the apartheid regime and the slave masters. We, the people of South Africa and our government, salute the Jamaicans for their unwavering support that was demonstrated during apartheid era through economic sanctions and anti-apartheid songs by the music legends like Bob Marley and the others. The visit of our late first president of a democratic South Africa, His Excellency Rolihlahla Nelson Mandela, to Jamaica after his release from Robben Island was not an accident of history, but was a sign of appreciation and recognition of that important role played by you, sisters and brothers of Jamaica and the Caribbean community at large, as we today celebrate the strength of the women and the critical roles we played in all aspects of leadership. I feel honored to introduce a political giant, a tested revolutionary, a leader by example, a world-class material, an all-seasoned leader, a product of the South African Revolution under the leader of the African National Congress, the daughter of our continent and the product of the South African soil. Comrade, President Bathabile Dlamini, a rural girl, cut her political teeth in youth organizations and was a member of the African National Congress of Youth League after the unbanning of the political parties. She was a member of then South African National Student Congress, SANSCO, at the University of Zululand, where she passed BA Social Work and BA Social Work honors. Served in the interim committee of the re-establishment of the Women's League structures in the Natal Midlands after unbanning of the African National Congress and the political parties. Active in branches of the Women's League and African National Congress, and was secretary and a treasurer, respectively. Served in the Regional Executive Committee of the Women's League region and later became Regional Secretary, Deputy Secretary General, and longest serving Secretary General of the African National Congress Women's League. Presently, National Executive Committee, a member, and National Working Committee, member of the African National Congress, and President of the Women's League, Vice President of the Pan-Africanist Women's Organization, member of the first democratically elected parliament, was a whip, deputy minister, and minister of social development, minister of women in the presidency. She likes working with young people. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And it is my pleasure now to call on our friend, President, Ms. Bathabile Dlamini, to deliver the keynote address.
Thank you very much.
While she's getting ready, let me greet our minister. Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Program Director, Professor Vernon A. Shepherd. Let me also recognize the people of Jamaica and the people of South Africa and their governments, more particularly Her Excellency, the Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, the Honorable Olivia Babsy Grange. I would also like to recognize our ambassador, Her Excellency Lumka Yengeni. She is the High Commissioner, a freedom fighter. She was part of the People's Army, Mkhonto Wesizwe, a former member of Parliament and chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Labor, former National Executive Committee member of the ANC, but also a young, up-and-coming cadre of the ANC, Ms. Precious Banda. I would also like to acknowledge Ms. Lilita Davis, the National Chairperson of the Council on Reparation. It's a very important moment where there is a conversation with Africa on resistance, resilience, and recognition. And this comes at a time when the people of Jamaica are also celebrating reggae music. And it's important for us to talk about our hidden history as women, the sacrifices we have made in the struggle, and a huge contribution that is always underrepresented. The history and our experiences have turned upside down our cultures. They delayed the development of our languages. And people do not understand our complex history. They always want to make it easy, as if people were brought from Africa and they traveled nicely to Europe and America. And our intellectuals, our historians have not been recognized. Yes, we faced and we are still facing triple oppression, but our oppression has been shown in a Eurocentric manner, not in the way we want it to be interpreted. That there are women like the nanny of the Maroons that fought the British and planned guerrilla warfare and disorganized the British in Jamaica is not spoken about. That they were insistent and continuous revolts that could not be stopped in Jamaica. High levels of perseverance, and also a fighting spirit, a history of people that preferred death, that preferred jail to nice life. That history is not told. And we have a responsibility of talking about that history so that our descendants do not always see white as superior and black as inferior. So it's important for us to always talk about our resistance and resilience. The Jamaican people, like us, have a long history of colonial dispossession and oppression. But again, just like us, they have survived a painful past to be where they are as a nation. Stripped of their identity by the slave master, they remained resilient and preserved many of their customs based on memory and myths. It is for this reason that we view the people of Jamaica as our own in South Africa. Together, we know the pains of racism and how we have been subjugated at the expense of our cultures and our traditions. This Black History Month, we do not only pay our tributes and homage to heroines and heroes who fought against along the way, great men and great women have fallen. This means our liberation today and what we celebrate as democracy was built on the backbone of those who died in the hands of vicious colonialism for only existing, and by the blood and sweat of those who dared to stand up to confront oppressive laws, governments, and regimes. This year, we are celebrating the life of the founding president of the ANC Women's League, which was called the Bantu Women's League. And she made a huge contribution in the struggle, but also she was an artist. She led protests, defiance campaigns when they were not called defiance campaigns. She led women from all racial groups. But what is important is that she always put on the table the issues of the poor and led together with women from the working class, the proletariat, and ensured that at all times she led from the front. And the ANC has decided to call this year the year of Charlotte Maxeke. And we are very happy, Ambassador, that we have this year as the year of Charlotte Maxeke, and you have opened the doors for us to converse with women from Jamaica. And this gives us an opportunity to share our past and also talk about the future, because the future is more important. We're also members of the Pan-African Women's Organization, and we were part of its founding conference. And Africa is a very rich continent, but it's important for us to come together to be able to deal with the issues of early marriages, genital mutilation, lack of education, poverty, unemployment, and inequality, so that our children access the resources that have been stripped over the years. What we have to reject with the contempt it deserves is the use of our bodies as instruments of war. We should have aggressive transnational campaigns that lobby our governments and leaders to commit in silencing the guns. Wars affect women and children, and we refuse wars in the future. We are trying to build for ourselves and for our children. What should be central in the fight against patriarchy is to fight for land for women in all our different African countries and in the African diaspora. Women must own the land because they work it, they survive on it. And our daughters and our generations to come must benefit from the land. We must be at the center of the economy for our countries and as a collective. We must refuse to be bullied in boardrooms and out of industries that are key contributors to the economies of our countries. With women at the helm of the economy, Africa will be a better place for all. Let me take this opportunity and congratulate Ms. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala on her appointment as the Director General of the World Trade Organization. Our wish for her is that she carries women with her and she makes African free trade a living reality for African women. In slavery and oppression, women suffered more. We suffer the pains of bringing up children under broken conditions. Violence against women and children is a daily lived reality of African women. Children are raped on a daily basis and are impregnated. We carry the yoke of unpaid labor on which men, companies, and markets are built. However, we are a resilient people. We never give up. This is what has carried us through from one generation of fighting women to the next. The future of Africa is bright because we have ourselves who are ready to contribute and follow on the footsteps of women like Mam Winnie Mandela, of women like Anne-Sophie de Bruyn, like women that still are the face of poverty. The future of Africa lays in our children, knowing that they can make a difference like Marcus Garvey. But also, our children have to learn a lot from talent, art, culture, and how it has united the people of Jamaica. Today, we talk about Grace Jones, who was really a trailblazer and remains a trailblazer of culture. The very country of Bob Marley, whose beats and sounds traversed the whole world. For us in Africa and South Africa, his sounds gave us strength and a reason to fight, gave us hope. What we learn is that we must develop a talent and allow our children to be anything they wish to be in order to contribute in building a strong Africa and diaspora. The dreams of our children must be tolerated, but also we must teach them to accept diversity. Africa must unite more and fight xenophobia. We cannot dehumanize one another because of colonial borders imposed by our colonizers. But above all, we must fight against economic oppression and capitalism, which reinforces racism, tribalism, sexism, regionalism and xenophobia. We are looking forward to working with women of Africa and the African diaspora to change our lives. We are looking forward to CSW 65 and the commemoration of the International Women's Day. And we want to repeat, religion, culture, and tradition must never be used to oppress us. Program Director, there are members of the National Executive Committee of the Women's League here. The SG of the Women's League was supposed to attend. The National Executive members, Noziko Makeke and Mildred Oliphant, are here. There is also a young bishop, Jessica Mbangeni, and members of the young women's desk, Busi Khatebe and Karabo Mohale, and many others that were invited by us. We would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity. The struggle continues. Thank you.
But victory is certain, and that is what we have to bear in mind. Thank you so much. And let me add my own welcome to those who are with us in the South African delegation. We left it to you, Madam President of the ANC Women's League, to introduce them. We wanted you to have that honor, so we thank you so much. And you know, both you and the High Commissioner have reiterated the impact of colonialism on our two countries. And you have talked about those who were in the struggle, but also those who showed that resilience, that third R in all three R's today. But you have also subtly introduced the other R's, because what you have described and what we have gone through requires reparative justice. And if we're going to live in peace and reconciliation, if we're going to reconcile our differences, justice has to be served. So I think you have also emphasized the role of the historian in using their writings to right, RIGHT, the wrongs of the past. Because if we don't excavate our women's experiences and our people's experiences from the deep layers of distortion of Eurocentricity, then we will never be able to use history to chart our past. And your own late Tata Madiba said, it is always important to look at your history. You cannot really be proud of yourself if you don't know your history. And you have re-emphasized that, you have emphasized that as well. But we need to build bridges of connection between our two countries in terms of knowledge production. And on one of my visits to South Africa, I think it was 2005, this is what I was saying, that we need to know more about each other. And this conversation that we have started must continue. And I really must thank our Honorable Minister, because of course we're talking about our beloved Babs Grange. I can take that liberty to call her that, I know she won't mind. And our Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, because it is important to find a way to establish and use the virtual space that we have, even in this horrible pandemic, to connect with each other, because our struggles have been so similar. And I know that working in this field, and Etana has a song, I'm not afraid. We cannot be afraid, and you're correct. We have to confront the power holders. We have to confront those who are keeping us back, and we cannot be afraid. And you know, sometimes when you talk about women's rights, and you are correct when you talk about the enslavement, the system of chattel slavery falling disproportionately on our women, it is true on this side too. They bore the burden of production and reproduction. And because they knew the power that they had to ensure there was no natural increase for their children to become chattel enslaved themselves, they resisted in ways only they knew how to resist, you know? And before I introduce our next speaker, let me just end with this in my comments. At all that you have said, we have to teach the next generation about our struggles and our ancestors' struggles, which means making Caribbean history, African history, available to our young people. And not only tell them that STEM is important, but to go full steam ahead to enrich their education. And when we speak of women's rights and we are told we are feminists, let's not use that as any bad word. Let us reinforce what Lucille Mathurin-Mayer said, our pioneer historian, and to project our view in support of justice for women. And even if we're not trying to win converts to feminism, let's be comfortable in our own skin. She said, the fact that I happen to be absolutely comfortable being called a feminist or a supporter of women's liberation, assuming I have to be called something, does not mean I'm presumptuous enough to suggest or recommend that other women must be equally comfortable with those labels. What I do, however, suggest is that a woman or a group that consciously rejects association with anything named women's liberation owes it to herself as a thinking being, owes it to her organization, not just individual women, but her organization, to understand clearly the process of rejection. She said this way back in 1974. And I really applaud her and applaud you, President, for your words and for your knowledge of what goes on this side of the Atlantic. But to reassure you, because you expressed a fear of the Eurocentricity in our history, that we, or trained historians on this side, have become scholar activists. They have become, in Rodney's tradition, guerrilla intellectuals, and they are in the process of destabilizing Eurocentricity in what we received as our text, and to produce a more liberating narrative of self. So rest assured that we are on that path, and anything we can do to increase knowledge about us on your side and vice versa, we are in the struggle together. Thank you so much. Let's give another round of applause to our keynote speaker. And you know, you can put in the reaction, you can put your applause also on the screen. So she feels the love that we have for her. Thank you so much. And now it's my pleasure to introduce, of course, our next speaker, Ms. Precious Banda. She's a political activist and well-known leader in Students and Youth League politics. She's the national convener of the Young Women's Desk, and that is a political cap that resulted in her being selected to be one of the prominent speakers in this August international gathering. Ms. Banda has played an integral role in several organizations, including in the South African Students' Congress, SASCO, Friends of Cuba, FOCUS, Young Communist League of South Africa at the University of South Africa, and the African National Congress's National Youth Task Team, just to name a few. Ms. Banda is 2 times winner of the Eskia Falele Creative Writing Award in 2011 and 2012. And so she now, gives us her own perspective and talk to us about her own experiences. It's over to you, Ms. Banda.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much for the great work you are doing as the program director, but also to thank the Jamaican government, the officials, the academics, and our very hardworking High Commissioner representing the Republic of South Africa, doing very well, Comrade Gengeni. It's usually very difficult to speak after the president of the ANC Women's League has spoken. And I would continue to to greet also the leaders from civil society from South Africa that have joined us, the leaders from the Young Women's Desk, Comrade Karabo, the NEC of the ANC Women's League and provincial leaders that are here, and everyone from the Jamaican delegation that have joined us. Let me just say all protocols are observed. And thank you so much once more for this great and historic opportunity for us. I would like to make my input into three parts. The first part speaking about forgetting, that we dare not forget our past as a people. That's the first one. We have to fight and use whatever we have as women, not to forget where we come from. We must not forget how we continue to struggle to exist as Black people against all forms of oppression. And the only tribute for those who have come before us is to vow to stop forgetting. May we never forget the past and those whose blood was slain, those who the soil has swollen just because they chose to stand up. May we remember that Black people have come a long way. It's very important. And I think that's what we'd say as a tribute for Black History Month. So in just honoring those that have come before us, I would like to just echo and just bring the names of heroines of the African soil that have stood up in their different countries to fight for oppression, but also the liberation of Africa, of our different countries and as women. I would like, to exalt and bring back the name of, firstly from my country, Josimpama, Dorata Mana, the great Winnie Mandela, who was fought in all forms inside and outside, but decided to stand and choose the side of her people. And all the great names I have mentioned have gone through a lot, and that it's not easy for women to choose to stand on the side of their people, but these ones did so from South Africa. I go on just to acknowledge Ransome Kuti Fanilayo, the mother of Fela Kuti, the singer, but she is a great liberator of Nigerian people who stood up also and risked herself, her life, her family, to stand with the oppressed people of Nigeria against British rule then. You have the Joyce Mujurus of Zimbabwe. We need to remember them, that no matter what happens, history must never forget that our time and our lives were once touched by great women like Joyce Mujuru. I also want to remember the women of Zambia, Julia Chikamoneka, Mama Kankasa, and Lenshina. These are great women also that have contributed to liberation. We can go on and on, both in the Caribbean and Africa as a whole, to mention name by name the contributors of liberation. And that for me as a young woman, I feel we have a responsibility not to forget them and to forget their contribution to our struggles. And it is because we understand where they come from, we understand their contribution and at what cost was that contribution, that we can be able as young people today to stand up and say we can speak, we can be fearless, we can confront patriarchy and all oppressive regimes. The second point is, therefore, because of that, we need African women, and I think in the ANC Women's League as a pilot, and something I think Deputy and Vice President of PAO is passionate about, President Watabile Dlamini, that she wants to take to Africa, the intergenerational work that needs to be done and for us to create platforms for young people and young women, that we need deliberate intergenerational programs that position young people so that there is knowledge transfer and training from those that have been there, and young people come with their youthfulness, their adventurous thinking, and also their contribution and energy to the discourse. So I think for all of us, both South Africa, Jamaica, Africa, and the entire African diaspora, it's very important for us to build and to put mechanism in which we develop intergenerational programs that transfer skills, but also incubate African and women leadership that must come and take over our struggles until we have total liberation. That is very important for us. It's very, very important for us because as more time begins, and also because of the onslaught, the neoliberal onslaught that is there is an offensive through media, social media, and all other platforms that tends to depoliticize young people. That young people that become political are political, but with other affiliations, not those that carry liberation and those that are aligned to the struggles of our people that we inherited. So intergenerational work becomes the second point that I think we need for Africa to rise, that we need for us to continue resisting all forms of oppression. My last point is on us to continue actually in the battle of ideas, where we fight against colonialism, because colonialism from slavery, it has evolved to capitalism, where the rich actually reinvent all forms in which they continue to oppress the poor. That as much as we say our countries have attained democracy, our countries are free, but women still live in fear, women still live in poverty, women are still the face of poverty, like the president said. So women are still being raped, women are still being used as instruments of war. So we need a decolonial discourse that is going to teach our people to value an African woman, a decolonial discourse that is going to make us to appreciate who we are as African people and our being. A decolonial discourse that is not going to impose, certain religions that have got nothing to do with us as African people and make us to despise our very own religions as African people. So this discourse has to entrench the values among us, especially the youth, the values that make us to understand that we do not subscribe to beauty as defined by patriarchal capitalism. We do not subscribe, to beauty that says for one to be beautiful, they have to be thin, tall, and light-skinned, and so on. That women, whether they are thin and tall, light-skinned, or in all forms and shape, to us, African women, in whatever way they are, remain very important, very beautiful to us, and are contributors to the kind of Africa and the diaspora that we want to build. And lastly, just to say, we need to continue to fight against capitalism together. Human trafficking is very rife, where our people are taken to the very epicenter of capital in the Western countries, where they go and serve as sex slaves. They go and serve as, workers that are underpaid and sometimes not paid, just working to live and to have a meal. So all those things we need to highlight and to say our freedoms are not enough, our freedoms are not sufficient as long as those of our own origin, those of the African soul, those of the toiling women that shed their blood years before us, continue today to live in the hands of those that exploit them and make money out of their bodies, out of their labor, out of their thinking and their brain. And if we can just have that, I think we can do a lot together, and we can work together also to fight all social ills that exist in all our countries. Thank you very much. In South Africa, we say Malibongwe, we say Watinta Bafazi, Watinti Mbokodo, and also we just say Aluta continue, because the struggle has indeed supposed to continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that powerful intervention. You know, as I listen to you, Ms. Banda, I'm reminded of something we talk about as we enter the phase of decolonial history. And you have, in fact, reinforced the importance of decoloniality and decolonial history. We have to engage in that process. And yes, we must never forget, in Jamaica, just like in South Africa, we are in the process of engaging in iconographic decolonization. And I know my colleague and friend, Dr. Hilary Brown from the CARICOM Reparation Commission is here. And I know that we have taken certain resolutions at our last meeting to deal with the politics of memory and the importance of iconographic decolonization. You look around Jamaica and you'll see the efforts of the Ministry of Culture and also, you know, others in the society who are insisting that the names of our freedom fighters must be put up in monuments. We must have a park where we have our heroes and heroines, and we must teach the young people why they must never forget. If we do not teach them that, then this struggle will not continue. And I think I'm reinforcing what the president of the ANC Women's League said earlier on. So, as I said, as I listen to you, Ms. Banda, I am reminded of the politics of memory. At times, the association of the politics of memory with state actions excludes those who are not in formal politics, who do not see themselves as politicians in the modern sense. So the politics of memory is a political means by which events are remembered and recorded or discarded by some people, not only by states or politicians, as they become involved in shaping collective memory through the construction of public monuments, declaration of national days or years or decades of memorialization, or the selection of the narrative about the past, you know, which we talk about, but also about what ordinary people do, also about what citizens choose to do as a result of their lived experiences. And all of you have been talking about that so far. Your reading of the past as represented in archival sources and published texts, your reaction to ancestral representations of the past, your reaction to state politics. But such reaction, while it can be collective or individual, must fit the more comprehensive definition of political action, which is what I hear you saying you're involved in. And in this regard, politics is broader than, but inclusive of representational politics and state actions around the issue of memory. It allows for the inclusion of the protest actions by those who are not, never have been, or never will be elected officials. Those marginalized groups who must use other means of seeking change. And I heard you talking about the importance of civil society and having a joined up movement if we are going to really achieve in this neo-colonial age true liberation from colonialism. So I thank you so much. And as you're a young person in the struggle, and I really hope you can get more young people in your army. The army needs everyone, as we know, or you're talking about the importance of reggae as we're in Reggae Month, and we know what Peter Tosh said, the late Peter Tosh. So it's now my honor to introduce to you our own minister, Honorable Olivia Grange, CD, MP, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sport. Our honorable, as I said, minister who has portfolio responsibility for reparation. But let me tell you a little bit more about her. Minister Grange has been a member of Parliament for St. Catherine Central since 1997. She was appointed Minister of Information, Youth, Sports, and Culture with responsibility for women and gender affairs, entertainment, community development, and special projects in 2007. Before that, she served as Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister. That was 1985 to 1989. government senator and parliamentary secretary for information and culture, 1983 to 1985. In 2015, she was awarded the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander for her contribution to the Jamaican music industry, cultural development, and public service. In June 2009, she had the distinction of being appointed the Caribbean Communities, or CARICOM's, first champion for culture, with responsibility for advocating, among other things, capacity building for cultural industries, cultural institutions, and individual artists. Minister Grange has had a long career as a cultural activist, working at the grassroots level in developing and managing talent. She's an artist, director, event planner, and we know she's an event planner, and an ardent supporter and promoter of Jamaica's creative and cultural industries. She's also a pioneer contributor to the development of the reggae and dancehall music industry in Jamaica, Canada, and the United States. As founding member and director of the Jamaica Association of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, we know that as JCAP, Ms. Grange has been instrumental in introducing policy initiatives in Jamaica to support the development of the cultural industries and advance brand Jamaica in the international market. She also assisted in developing the Jamaican copyright legislation. She co-founded Contrast, Canada's first Black community newspaper, and was the Chief Executive Officer of Specs Limited and Spec Shank Music. She also served as Executive Director of the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, JCDC, Arts Officer, Institute of Jamaica, Cultural Director, West Kingston Community Cultural Development Program, and Public Relations Officer, West Kingston Trust. She has done pioneering work in entertainment, youth activism in the Jamaica Labour Party's youth organization in the March of Jamaica's independence, and beyond that, 37 years of service in both houses of parliament. She now undertakes additional responsibilities as deputy leader of government business in the House and has been charged with various ministerial assignments over 5 administrations of government. Honorable Minister, it is really my honor and pleasure to ask you to address us at this time.
Chiming in, thank you, Professor Shepherd, but you know this is culture and this is Jamaica, so we're bringing to you our warmth of Jamaica and our music. And so ministers really packaged 2 musical interludes for you, so we can just bring in the minister on the rhythm. So let's hear
it. Well, we saw her when reggae was put on the national stage.
Right.
We saw her, so we know what she can do and what she likes. Okay,
all right, so
let's go.
I was afraid of climbing mountains, but now I'm willing to fly. My tears have filled fountains, left me empty inside. Finally it came to me, I was being my worst enemy, and the battles I've been fighting were against me. Positivity, I changed my mood, me I rock this brand new attitude, dancing to this rhythm of life. I'm a lady, so life better treat me accordingly, just like a queen wearing my crown, I deserve it. I'm a lady, so life better treat me accordingly, just like a queen wearing my crown, I deserve it. Yeah. It's like I found a little secret and I can't keep it to myself. If you're looking for some answers, I hope this could help. Every new morning when you wake up, just look in the mirror and say, I'm a brand new me, ready for take on the road today. Yeah. Positivity, I change my mood, me I rock this brand new attitude, dancing to this rhythm of life. I'm a lady, so life better treat me accordingly, just like a queen wearing my crown, I deserve it. So when that booty go, booty dang, I'm confident, don't get the wrong impression. Worthy and proud, I sing it loud. I am woman. I'm a
people. Put your good performance.
Confident woman, and when that booty go, booty dang dang. Confident and beautiful woman, I no longer fear the mountains, 'cause now I'm willing to fly, no longer cry. Fountains, Jah know I'm feeling alive. Yeah. Positivity, I change my mood. Me, I rock this brand new attitude. Dancing to this rhythm of life. I'm a lady, so life better treat me accordingly. Just like a queen wearing my crown, I deserve it. You're a lady, so life better treat you accordingly. I'm a queen, just like a queen wearing a crown. You deserve it, yeah. I'm a queen, so you're a lady. You're a confident woman.
Wow. I know I shall die for it, but my children shall be free. Those were the words of an enslaved African woman on the Kensington plantation in 1831, right here in Jamaica. I want to welcome my sisters from South Africa, High Commissioner, President of the ANC Women's League, coordinator, and I also want to acknowledge the presence of the chair of the NCR, as well as Professor Vereen Shepherd, our moderator, and all those wonderful people who are viewing this presentation and who are sharing in this great, wonderful experience. I'm so happy that our sisters are here and that we can share in this great moment. So I just ask you to give me a minute while I just get my little technical difficulty here. So I just want to get my, just one moment. Good. Okay, so these were the words which I quoted earlier, said by this African warrior woman I named Fire at the Flames of Freedom celebrations in St. James here in Jamaica 3 years ago. Fire expressed the sentiment of the campaigners for freedom across Jamaica in 1831. As by prior agreement, they sent just one second. As prior agreement, they sent a signal to the enslavers that Jamaica was at war with Britain. The fire set burned hundreds of miles from Kensington to Blue Hole and beyond. I can just imagine that the flaming grounds and the illuminated skies across the country were fueled by the burning determination of our African ancestors, not just for freedom in all its dimensions, but equality, equity, dignity, justice, and I dare say, prosperity. Who took part in the Emancipation War of 1831 to 32 alongside male soldiers, facing down bullets, chains, whips, imprisonment, and the gallows. We honor them today for their activism and sacrifice. We say the names of women like Eliza and Jane Whittingham and Anne James, who were put to death for the part they played in the cause, and Elizabeth Samuels from Bunkers Hill. She was sentenced to 100 lashes and 6 months in prison. They must forever be given their full recognition. Fire and the many like her in the movement stood on the shoulders of the greatest of them all, our national hero, Queen Nanny of the Maroons. Nanny, then as now, is hailed for her tenacity, her tactical planning, her fierce determination, and her outstanding military prowess, a signature of the Ashanti tribe. Nanny mesmerized and bewildered the British until in 1740, they made a peace treaty with her in the Rio Grande Valley in Portland, fanning the flames of freedom in Jamaica and the Caribbean. Her legend carries its own mystique, but she is distinguished as among the few women known to have led her people into successful military campaign for liberty. And so today, we salute Nanny, woman of purpose and destiny. I had the distinct honor of piloting through Parliament an act to absolve our freedom fighters of any ascribed criminality. This covered hundreds of women who stood beside and behind our men in battle. The defining work of the century after emancipation, which we achieved in 1838, again saw the distinct influence of formidable women who shaped this nation's history. Sometimes referred to as the mother of the nation, the Most Honorable Gladys Bustamante was on the front lines of collective action, seeing to the welfare of the disenfranchised worker, utilizing the vehicle of the powerful Bustamante Industrial Trade Union. Again, together with her husband, Sir Alexander Bustamante, Jamaica's first prime minister and a national hero, Lady Bustamante is credited with birthing the Jamaica Labour Party, which today administers the government of Jamaica. Then there's Aggie Bernard, Elsie Powell, Beatrice Powell, Anne Hutchinson, Irene Campbell, Medora Williams, Kathleen Martin were among the protesters at Frome. Martin was killed in these labor protests of the 30s. We remember our resilient sisters and history makers all. Women such as Amy Jakes Garvey and Amy Ashwood Garvey and many more number among the faces of activism that came after. There's so many other names I could mention. I think too of Iris Collins, who in 1944 became the first woman elected to the Jamaican Parliament, who recognized the grit of the pioneering Madame Rose Leon, the first woman to chair a national political party in 1948, just 4 years after women were granted the right to be elected to Parliament. Leon was also the first woman appointed to a cabinet, the first woman to be re-elected to Parliament, and interestingly, the first woman to cross the floor when she left the Jamaica Labour Party to join the People's National Party in 1976. For my own part, my birth and baptism was political and cultural leader from West Kingston, with a proliferation of artists, sound engineers, intuitive painters, dancehall, and revivalism, and Afro-Christian religion, which evolved, taking key elements of Christianity, which was given to us by the enslavers. And we, our ancestors, transformed this by doing their own form of worship. I was mentored by a political anthropologist, a political leader and anthropologist. And through him, I was introduced to Imogene Kennedy, Jamaica's iconic Kumina queen. Kumina being the most African of our retentions. Queenie was small in stature, fearless and commanding, highly respected. She held people transfixed. I am fortunate enough to have been around to witness the unfolding of the awesome skill and craft of the mother of Jamaican culture and language, Miss Louise Bennett, she too being a multi-talented and multi-dimensional figure who liberated the language of the people. The theater, the media, and the poet's pen was this warrior's frontiers. With those giants before me, no wonder then I had an early relationship with all things culture and cultural development at the community. I was immersed into the ongoing struggle for the liberation and independence of the Jamaican people and the birthing of the Jamaican identity. Though many have by now forgotten, and the youth may not yet know, resistance took on its full political meaning in the turbulent 70s, where the political and ideological divide between the Jamaica Labour Party, of which I was and am a part, and the People's National Party was fierce and reflective of the geopolitics of the day. That period of my life led to 9 months of political imprisonment in 1976, and then later to exile. Being locked up in a cell was a painful separation from my family and a time of great uncertainty. I understood more deeply then the historical context of imposed captivity and that our natural state of freedom is precious, invaluable, must never be taken for granted, and must be safeguarded. Now, I also know that repair and reconciliation with one's past is patient but necessary work, and the only path to peace, progress, and development. I had my share of experience in Canada with racism. I started the first Black publication in Canada, and I became a strong activist during that Black Power period. But back in Jamaica, contributing to development of the reggae industry and management of reggae artists was a balm, as reggae music encapsulates the troubles and triumphs of the individual and Afro-descendant people, while providing a pathway for poor and innocent individuals and families. It put me again in a privileged juxtaposition with Rita Marley, wife of Bob Marley, along with Judy Morton and Marcia Griffiths, the trio globally known as the I3s. I honor these iconic women who carried forward the promise of reclaiming our cultural integrity and dignity as Afro-descendant people. Their performances with Bob Marley embodied the harmony and liberating power of the male and female of our species, acting in concert. Being entrusted with the direction of Jamaica's culture and music is for me, therefore, a sacred responsibility. Reggae music, the universal anthem of resistance and liberation, representing in South Africa significant strains of struggle against apartheid and an unstoppable wave of support for the release of Nelson Mandela. So it was too for the fight for the freedom of Namibia and elsewhere. In the political arena, I reflect on the fact that there were so few of us women in parliament when we began. But we were all ground in our numbers. However, to the certainty of change in the face of the challenge Jamaica has had in Portia Simpson Miller, the first woman president of the People's National Party, the party that jailed me, and the first woman prime minister who became my sister. In our last election in September, as campaign chair, I was proud to announce that the Jamaica Labour Party had selected 18 smart, capable, hardworking, caring women of integrity on our slate for the election. It was the highest number of women that any political party had ever put forward for parliamentary elections. And there were a number of women also put forward by the People's National Party. In the end, a total of 18 women had been elected to Parliament, with 14 of them representing the Jamaica Labour Party. As a longtime campaigner for greater participation by women in the political process, I am more motivated to help women, no matter the challenge, to find their voice and take their place on a stage of their choosing. Our work is unfinished. The act of rape of our enslaved ancestors endured, and other forms of exploitation still are a feature of today, even in the corporate spaces we dominate in Jamaica. Our parliament is confronting this with the introduction of sexual harassment legislation, which are marshalling through parliament. The struggle continues. I close much as I began. There is duty in honoring the lives that sacrifice for freedom, one which is discharged in recognizing the value in our own. We must secure reparatory justice for the future. This is a holistic form of justice that has always been conceived of as a way to redress wrongs, as well as achieve peace and reconciliation. The movement has had a long struggle, started by enslaved and freed Africans, and continued by Rastafari and civil society activists who maintain that perpetrators should repair Caribbean societies disfigured by conquest, native genocide, colonization, apartheid. I can't but invoke young Amanda Gorman as I close, my brothers and sisters. She said, "We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. History has its eyes on us. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it." My brothers and sisters, I thank you so much, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. I think by popular request, they wanted to play Etana again at this point, but I'm not sure if they have it lined up. They can give me a signal, Leticia, if it is lined up. But in the meantime, may I just say how powerful that was? You see, the personal is political, is what we say. And we need to tell our experiences. So let's pause for a minute and settle ourselves as we listen to Etana.
I see them coming after my soul, wanting to take control. Wanna give me lots, wanna give me bling, wanna give me all the material things. I hear them talking about what the world has to offer. Girl, what you doing, don't you see? What they have done to Bedouin and Marcus, Jesus and all of the prophets. But I'm not afraid, no. I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. No, if them are come, let them come, 'cause I'm protected by the Most High One. They don't mind when you fall behind and can't pay your bills on time. Prostituting and standing in a them government line. No, and they don't mind when you waste your time coming up with some stupid lines, influencing the youth them for snort a line and take a life. And they don't mind when you're locked up in jail, can't get no bail, sentence for life. I can't see your youth them strive. No, they don't mind. But I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. No, if them a come, let them come, 'cause I'm protected by the Most High One. Yeah. Don't be foolish. Oh no. Hey, thinking they don't know your name. I see them coming after my soul, wanting to take control. Wanna give me lots, wanna give me bling, wanna give me all the material things. I hear them talking about what the world has to offer. Girl, what you doing? Don't you see what they have done to Bedouin and Marcus, Jesus and all of the prophets? But I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid. No, if them a come, let them come, 'cause I'm protected by the Most High One. They don't mind when you fall behind and can't pay your bills on time. Prostituting and standing in a them government line. No, and they don't mind when you waste your time coming up with some stupid lines, influencing the youth them for snort a line and take a life. And they don't mind when you're locked up in jail, can't get no bail, sentence for life. I can't see your youth them strive.
They're approaching that time.
But I'm not afraid. No, I'm not afraid.
And Ketana.
No, I'm not afraid. No.
So many of us can relate to that.
I'm protected by the Most High One.
Yes. So many of us can relate to that. We have all been in situations where we are called upon to exercise courage. But, Honorable Minister, you have emphasized, yes, that throughout our shared history, women have, with tenacity, played a critical role in all aspects of leadership, freedom, movements, democracy, diplomacy, nation building, and advancement. Numbered among these in Jamaica are politicians like you who go down in the trenches with their people and do not confine themselves to the comfortable seats of power. And I have sat in the ones in South Africa, but, you know, this is so important, the work that we all do. And all the participants have emphasized what a friend of mine sent to me, a quotation. Those who reject their ancestors will be rejected by their offspring. If you have offsprings and you do not want to be rejected, then you know what you have to do. And as I was saying before, all of us, I think, in this conversation today can relate to you, Minister Grange. And I emphasize what feminists always say, and those of us who are in the women's movement. The personal is political. There was a time when people kept saying, well, that's my private life. Please don't talk about that. Just talk about my job and what I do now. But I hear you, Minister, and I can relate. You know, I experience, and I think so many of us experience all those isms. You experience sexism, you experience racism, because you embody, we all embody intersectionality in our own beings. And I was born in a district called Africa in St. Mary. Nobody, apart from the continental Africans who are on this call, I'm the only one in Jamaica born in Africa. I attest, well, maybe my other people who came from there. But that experience exposed me to the stereotypes about Africa. Because why was it called Africa? Because it was infrastructurally challenged. But good things came out of Africa, and good people came out of Africa. And like you, Minister, we all use education as our route out of poverty. But history education that I learned at the University of the West Indies taught me that colonialism must be destabilized. And we in this e-conversation have a responsibility. And I told you that the 5 R's would come up, not just the 3 in the title of this conversation today. And Minister has articulated what the CARICOM Reparation Commission in its 10-point action plan is saying, what the National Council on Reparation Jamaica is saying, what all the other national committees are saying, what South Africa is saying. So we have to band together, my sister. So I want to, before I do my closing remarks, let me open up for another 10 minutes or so to the question and answer segment. But I think I'll have to rely on Ms. Bohar Singh to see if there are any questions in the, I don't see a Q&A session segment down in on the Zoom. So Ms. Bohar Singh, are there questions for?
Well, I had the time, a lot of just giving thanks for this conversation, Prof. And I just want to indicate that we also have among us the Angolan ambassador to South Africa. So wow. Yes, so we have a number of persons from the continent, his and her excellencies among us. So just for you to pay homage to them. I'm scrolling through, and it's just a number of just thanks to our minister, thanks to Continental Africa, South African High Commission, and our special guest for being a part of this. So I am not seeing any particular question, but I see Ras Ho Ching had his hand up for a while. So Prof, I will give you the benefit to ask Ras Ho Ching to ask his question, or while I scroll.
Okay, so Ras Ho Ching, of course, is a member of the National Council on Reparation. And you have the floor, Ras Ho Ching.
First of all, family, I would like to say in the presence of the Supreme Creator, the Most High, blessing to our family right across Mother Earth. And it is indeed an historical occasion. I'd like to give mark snuff blessings to our wonderful minister, Honorable Minister Grange, for what she is now pioneering and bringing the culture, because when you have civilization, you're speaking of the African. When you speak of history, you're speaking of the African. So no matter where you turn, my brothers and sisters, nothing of neither in the past or the present cannot be without the African. And as you know, there will come a time when Africa, the true leaders of Africa, will possess Africa. So I give wonderful thanks and praise for this wonderful gathering. There's not a question, because the Caribbean, as you said, Professor Vern Shepherd and our minister, we are now reaching across to the continent, and our continent has reached out our hands to our children. And it can now, there's no power of anyone can stop this. And this is a time when it must happen. And it's only we ourselves can declare our unity. It's only we ourselves can declare our freedom, which include reparation. Only we ourselves can repair the damage and put back what they have destroyed and what they have done to the African nation. So blessed love, family, right across Mother Earth. And blessing to Mother Africa, the woman, as what Sean Paul said, Shaggy, the woman must be the goddess. If you have a god, then you must have the goddess. And we know the universe was created by both man and woman, he and she, Mama Mahat. Blessing woman.
Thank you very much, Ras Hoshing. Minister, we'll have to use him in our campaign to mash down patriarchy and sexism wherever and root it out. But he has to join the bandwagon and join our campaign. But thank you so much. And you know, Ras Hoshing, as you spoke, I recall the conversations we have had and the insistence that we want to pass on to the young people that we are people from great civilizations. And those of us who have visited the continent of Africa, the different countries within Africa, because Africa is not a country, it's a continent with different countries, have seen the great civilizations, have seen the evidence. Of course, we know that colonialism affected the countries of Africa, the majority of them, but we have seen the evidence. And that is why we have to mash down the lies that we have been taught. And yes, you have always insisted, as I do, that on this side, our history didn't start with enslavement. Let us popularize that. Let us teach our children that, you know, because when you teach children that their history began with slavery, some of them feel ashamed, even though it's not their fault. It wasn't their fault. Let us teach them that they came before Columbus and teach them about Mali, Songhai, the great empires, Benin. When people see the museum and the artifacts, they can't think that Europeans were correct. Mash down those lies. I think Dr. Hilary Brown has her hand up, who is in the Secretariat of the CARICOM Reparation Commission and CARICOM office in Guyana. Dr. Brown, you have the floor.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Vereen. Thank you all for this wonderful session. But no, I don't have my hand up. Okay. I had a small question in the chat, just saying I would love to hear views from the presenters on next steps to strengthen collaboration, and how about a regular forum for dialogue and exchange as a start. That was the question posted.
Okay, at the start, I did say that this is one of 4 conversations that we're going to have this year. So there are plans from the ministry and from the partners, the Center for Reparation Research, which I direct at UWI, the PJ Patterson Center for Africa-Caribbean Collaboration and Advocacy. They, of course, lead the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, and the National Council for Reparation to have more. And so, Hilary, the CRC, the CARICOM Reparation Commission should really, of course, join, because part of the 10-point plan is African reconnection. And the national committees, of course, embrace the 10-point action plan. So we're all one here with our project.
All right, question in the chat. Oh, Minister was about to go ahead.
Minister, you have the floor.
Yes, I just want to add to what you have said, that we have every intention to reach out to Prime Minister Motley for her to be keynote speaker in one of the series. And so this is not just about Jamaica, but it's about all of us. And we will be speaking with you, Professor, along with Hilary, and to reach out to see how we're going to expand the scope and to really develop the series.
Yes, thank you for that, Honorable Minister, because united we stand and divided we're going to fall. So we have to make this a pan-Caribbean and pan-African conversation. And I see the intention after speaking to those who are in the organizing committee.
Professor, I also just want to say a special appreciation to the president of the ANC Women's League, you know, and to say that for me, it's a great honor, and this is a historic occasion, and to really thank her from the bottom of my heart, and to say to High Commissioner that she has done our country proud right here in Jamaica by being able to have given us the opportunity for this webinar to include this powerful lady And I also want to thank the coordinator for being a part of this. I just wanted to use the opportunity to say that because I did not highlight their presence and their involvement to the extent I would have wanted to during my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Minister. And of course, I am absolutely proud of all of our speakers. And you can see that I am also representing in my outfit aspects of South Africa, because I did buy this Zulu hat in South Africa, and I was so happy I couldn't take back. And I'm sure you can see my mug, which is South African, which was given to me by a South African colleague. I'm very proud of it, you know? So on this side, our brothers and sisters, we are very proud of our connection. I have done my DNA test, like many others in Jamaica, and I know that my great-great-great-grandfather, Alexander Mighty, was a child at the time of emancipation. Happily, he was saved the scam of apprenticeship. He was too little. So we are connected. We know the horrible history, but I think the president said we are resilient people and we are learning from our history. I think Minister has shown that too. You have all these oppressive experiences, but you come out of it because of our ancestors, because we have to righting the wrongs. But united, we will have to ensure we'll make them come back and participate in our development, because right now what we're seeing COVID-19 is a kind of return of some colonialist attitudes, and we have to stamp those out, okay? So if there are no...
Yes, Prof, we have a number of questions in the chat. It's hard for me to keep up, but I will just merge some of them.
Let me just say that there's immediately, Natisha, that there's one asking how they can get on our mailing list.
Right.
The next webinar. So I think that's for the Secretariat to deal with.
Right. So that was among my list. Also, how they can get involved in the movement. You know, I think that we can shed some light on that. It's an ongoing movement. So Prof or Minister Grange can address that. Also, they were asking about the role of CARICOM and where we are in the reparation movement. So I'm just grouping questions. So, you know, Prof, and is there any plan for Jamaica to become a republic? That's a question that has been in the last webinar and is also in this webinar. As we scroll, I don't know, Prof, you can use your moderating power to allow for persons to answer while I scroll.
Yeah, we only have 10 minutes or maybe maximum 15 minutes left. So I guess we can take a couple more. I wonder if Honorable Minister will talk about, well, no, I'm not going to ask Minister nothing about Republic. We have to have that, well, unless she wants to answer. Minister, you want to take that one? I think Minister is muted.
Yes, no.
Curveball, but I don't know if you want to take that.
I think you should, I think you should move on. I don't want to get into that at this time.
Yes, but let's just say it's on the table.
We have our guests here, and I'd ask that some questions be directed to them.
Yes.
So they can be fully engaged in this process.
Yes. Do we have questions for specific speakers? I see, because they're asking about the status of the CARICOM work and how they can get involved. Maybe I'll ask our South African colleagues about generally how people can get involved in these movements of reparative justice, reconciliation, and the anti-colonial struggle, which still continues, even with independence. So I'll ask our South African High Commissioner, President, Madam President, would you like to say something about how people can get involved as we build this, reconnect the bridge of disconnection under colonialism?
Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, High Commissioner, okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to see who is,
It's the president. It's the president. The president
yes,
was about
president. Yes, you have the floor.
And I think I see Professor Earl Taylor's hand at some point. So
okay,
just alerting you.
Yes. So, Madam President, Dlamini, yes, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. I think you are ahead of us in terms of reparations and how you have deepened that process. We had a truth and reconciliation program in Bishop Tutu. And when the TRC finished its work, there was a part about reparations, further investigations, but also we have not delved deep into the issues of reparations. There is still some form of anger amongst some of us, because that is what will assist us in healing the nation. And there is also a feeling that the oppressors have been forgiven, but there isn't an apology and a recognition of what apartheid was. And the UN declared apartheid as a violation of human rights. But no one has put themselves at the center of ensuring that there is true commitment to non-racialism, and the signs are through the growing gap between the rich and the poor. It's also seen through the ownership of means of production, because it still remains with a few. And that does not mean that a government has not done anything to change the quality of lives of the people. But the major changes have to be made in the very insistent structural problems that we are faced with, that are still there, that need to be dealt with. When you spoke at some stage, you raised, Prof, the issue of dismantling of colonialism. And those are elements that will make a difference in the quality of lives of the people. But one other issue that remains a big issue in South Africa is the issue of the land. And that is why I raised the issue, because the land belongs to its rightful owners. And as long as we do not properly address the issues of the land, people will never feel liberation. So I thought I should just raise those issues, and that is why it's important for us to strengthen our relations with you so that we also learn from you on the issues of reparation. Thank you.
Thank you, President. High Commissioner, and then Ms. Banda, I would appreciate your perspective on this issue of dismantling colonialism, how we're each trying to do that where we are. High Commissioner, unmute, please. High Commissioner is having some challenges with unmuting. I don't know if the host can unmute, no?
No, privacy issues.
Oh, okay, so maybe
Ms. Banda, though,
Ms. Banda
she's also checking with her delegation. So Ms. Banda can go ahead and then I commission.
Oh, okay. Ms. Banda, you're also muted. If you could unmute and perhaps bring the youth perspective on what's going on in terms of the anti-colonial struggle in South Africa. Ms. Banda, if you could unmute. Yes.
I'm here.
Yes.
I think the president has spoken in terms of our protocol. Once the president has spoken, she speaks on behalf of all of us. Okay. So we just look forward to more work, more interaction. And on the part of young people, we look forward to working with young people of the whole Caribbean, Jamaica, and also of all Africans in diaspora. But thank you so much. And we affirm what the president has said.
Okay. Would the High Commissioner want to speak? No? Okay. All right. So, yes, I think she's indicating, but she's still muted. So let's, yes, Natisia, are there other questions? It's quite clear that we have similar issues on both sides, however, and that we have to work intentionally on it.
Questions, not so much questions, but continued comments of how great a webinar series is and the collaboration and how we must continue.
All right, but there was a question about CARICOM until the High Commissioner indicates she wants to speak. Let's take that from Dr. Hilary Brown, the state CARICOM work on reparation. Oh, High Commissioner is unmuted now. Yes, over to you.
Thank you, Prof.
And then Dr. Brown, yes.
She needs to pay more attention. She needs to write these things. She needs to make Professor Taylor speak.
Yes, I've seen Professor Taylor. I have him down also on the lineup. And is that the Institute of Jamaica or Institute of, not sure, Institute of what? I'm not seeing. There's a hand raised from the Institute of, but I'm not sure. And to see if you could let me know what that is. But yes, High Commissioner, your turn.
No, I wasn't going to say anything, in fact, after the president had spoken. Okay. But I think it's an important question that was raised that we need to look into so that in future we can discuss it. Yes, that's all what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you, High Commissioner. So we have Dr. Taylor, we have Dr. Brown. Do we have anyone else, Natisia? I mean, the comments are great, but if they're...
I have my hand raised as well.
Yes, Lalita, I have you down as well. So let's go in order. I think we heard the CARICOM question. Let me hear from Dr. Taylor, by the way, so that we can mix up this conversation. Dr. Taylor, are you still on the continent of Africa?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Very good, very good. I'm speaking from Namibia.
Hi.
That's the younger sister to South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say big thanks to the presenters from South Africa for provoking thoughts and also getting our minister to expose some of the burning issues that we both, Jamaica and South Africa, Namibia, face. I think the presentations were very informing, and inspiring. On the question as to we go forward, I just want to say that culture is the link through which we can penetrate the continent. It's a commonality that we share. And culture is the link to development. It satisfies the values, the customs on which our decisions are made. And that link is very important between Africa and Jamaica. And lastly, I just want to share what we're doing in Namibia. Just on Thursday, I met with the new mayor for Windhoek. And one of the things that we shared and discussed was the revival of what was then the Pan-African Center to make it into a Garvey Institute for Research, looking at and getting writers from both the Caribbean, America, and Africa to focus on Black people development and history, to capture that. And so that is going to be one way to reach the heart of the issue that addresses reparation, because we are talking about reparation, but it needs to be put into context. And it is the history of both the continent and the diaspora that will get this link visible.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I can't agree with you more, and I know also in Namibia, you're dealing with the issue of the Nama and Herero people and the struggle for reparation on their behalf. So thank you, Professor Taylor. I will engage you on that some other time. Let me just tell you what the lineup is now. We have Mrs. Lolita Davis Mattis. We have Dr. Brown, Dr. Hilary Brown. We have Bishop Jessica, the Institute of someplace, which somebody will have to tell me. And I see Rastafari Kingdom. And I'm really, so O'Shane Robinson also, and that's all we'll be able to take, I'm afraid, because the time is going. We're aware of Parliament.
Hi, Prof. I was just about to indicate that we have Commissioner Alexandra Davis from Florida wanting to have her input before we wrap up.
Okay.
So sorry, I'm trying to multitask.
Alexandra
Yes, Commissioner Alexander Davis from Florida wanted to intervene because we all have to go. So if you would allow before we wrap.
Yes, of course. And then I'm afraid that will have to be it. It's so great that people are interacting. So, Mrs. Davis Mattis.
Prof, I just really wanted Minister, can you hear me? To perhaps just mention the policy initiative now being undertaken through her ministry and via the National Council on Reparations. I thought it was an important point to make. Minister, are you there?
Minister is off camera and muted at the moment. We'll come back to her unless she wants to jump in now. If not, let me go to Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown, Hilary Brown, is she still with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. Very quickly about the state of the work now.
Yes, very quickly. Let me say that the CARICOM Reparations Commission is still very active, very enthusiastic, very busy with public education, youth engagement, and a number of activities in the region. We have committees set up in 10 member states. And really, I think what is particularly important to this forum is that an important part of the strategy that is proposed going forward is to really have a stronger alliance with the African Union and the member states of the African Union in advancing this issue of reparations. So I was really very excited about this forum and to see this initial dialogue and to see that we see that as a critical part of advancing this issue. And I know that there were some questions too about getting involved and how persons can give support. We really want you to give the support where you are, because we really need to step up the temperature in all of the countries, in Africa, in Europe. And so I think we can have more dialogue on that, on the ways in which we are organizing to have that kind of global groundswell for reparations. Thank you.
And let me go quickly to Bishop Jessica.
Greetings in the name of Africa, my beginning, Africa, my ending. Am I audible enough?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Oh, thank you ever so much. Let me observe the protocol by saying, Lathi paisakazukis kumbasengongo. Vulani ndlela kugabuka ubumnyama. Bamangasibini singabi netyutyu. Khanda namachiza konakala ukuhlala. Ha! Namhla sigagene kodwa ndinguyinongqa usintombi kamhlakaza. Yena wadiliza intaba zikaXhosa. Diligube lemvelo uthi bujani siba soshubela abantwana. Ukhala khululumla abantwana umgodi omntshontsho. Kama zikathi inkomo zikasijekula. Honorable Bathabile Dlamini, my president, Your Excellency. Oh, Lumka Yengeni, my High Commissioner. Your Great Excellence, my mother, my queen, Olivia Babsi Grant. Thank you for taking me through and taking me through to the journey of life. I know the time is up, but what I'd like to say, when I traveled to Jamaica, not knowing anybody, but the Spirit led me to the big offices of our mother today, who is our great host, Umama Olivia Babsi Grant. I never knew that today we'll be talking about the unification of Africa. But the Honorable Marcus Garvey and the great Nani of the Maroons, who today has inspired our law of resilience, law of bravery, law of paradoxical within us. The great Honorable Marcus Garvey once said, the people without the knowledge of their culture, their traditions, and their history of origins are like the tree without roots. Kwame Nkrumah once said, I am not an African because I was born in Africa, but I'm an African because I was born, because Africa was born in me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And the great Big Slicker Seme once said, I am an African. I owe my being to the hills and the valleys, the mountains and the glades, the rivers, the seas, the trees, the deserts, the flowers, and the ever-changing seasons that define the face of our native land.
Thank
Remember,
you, thank you.
We are the ones we've been waiting for.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for that input. Let's go now to O'Shane Robinson. O'Shane, are you there?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, you have to be quick, O'Shane. Sorry.
Yeah, man, I'll be quick. I just want to say that I would like to volunteer to assist with organizing the youth participation in Jamaica. I remember from when we did the reparations, youth baton relay, and the meetings that we had in the schools, how receptive the students were. And I'd like to volunteer to assist with getting more young persons in the discussion so they can know more about it.
Okay, so I'm sure Honorable Minister and the chair of the NCR and of course the Secretariat will take notes. Thank you, my brother, because we do need, and that was somewhere in the chat as well about how people can get involved, as Ms. Bahar Singh very kindly told us as she manages the chat. Thank you. Now, I see Rastafari Kingdom, but I don't know.
For that, Prof, our Alexander has to go, so she.
Oh, yeah, okay. Can we take our diplomatic friend in Florida? Yes.
Commissioner Alexandra Davis.
Yes. You have the floor. I'm not seeing her. Oh, all right. Where is her? Oh, there you are. Okay. No, I don't. I'm not seeing our diplomat. Where's our diplomat?
I'm not sure, Prof, but you can continue until I locate.
Oh, okay. So we just have two more then. I see, where's Rastafari Kingdom? And then Institute. Can you say what institute you represent?
Of Africologist is very, this is
okay. Hi. Okay, great. So Rastafari Kingdom first, and then you, and then we have to wrap because we really have, we don't want ministers to be late for Parliament.
Yes, greetings, Sister Vereen. Blessed love to Mama, Sister Grange, and everyone. Yes, I'm Ras Junanigos, but to make it short before I even go any further, what I would like to ask you, Sister Vereen, if you said this is a 4-part, if I could be given that opportunity to make a presentation, because I have some valid points that I would like to bring to the table, being that I've been in South Africa now over going 2 years. And I have, in Jamaica, I have been to your office. I have set several meetings with Minister Grange dealing with issues. And we give thanks for the South Africa energy, which coming through Jamaica 2005 with the AU, had in a private summit at the university. The amount of energy that South Africa has made to bring about our liberation and our unity with Jamaica needs to be addressed this time. So, you know, I'm asking if it's possible that I could give a presentation on various aspects of our development.
Okay, my brother, that is not under my control, but if you put your details in the chat, I'm sure the secretary will get in touch with you. So, oh, I'm so sorry, Commissioner Alexander had to go. All right, now, so the Rastafari, you have the last word, yes. Apart from, of course, because I'm getting back to the question. Yes, quickly.
Vereen Shepherd, you know, 26 years ago when I repatriated to South Africa and started the Institute of Africology in a garage in Soweto. Today, I am honored that during the COVID, the COCTA, one of the ministries that deals with traditional affairs, handed over to Africology land and infrastructure. And so today there is a Pan-African Institute sitting in KwaZulu-Natal. And in that institute, just now, we have finalized the Sankore Children's Program. And the point I'm making is that for someone who repatriated, someone who is here, you know, leadership, Batabile Dlamini, they know the works. We have been clear that the connection that we have been trying to secure, you know, with the kings acknowledging the work of the diaspora, that is what South Africa has done, the first of its kind, to hand over to a diasporan land as a Pan-African center, the first of its kind, under the Institute of Africology, which has been around for the last 25 years. And so this connection that has been happening today, the manifestation is that South Africa is very serious about, one, you know, the Pan-African connection, which we started under Thabo Mbeki, and we need to reconcile that once again. And then lastly, Mama B, a repatriate who passed away 3 weeks ago. The only thing she wanted, which Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma was able to fight for, that she gets her citizenship. She wasn't able to get that. And you know, when we gather like this, there are some deep issues that needs to happen. And I will be remiss if we don't make sure that this connection understand what it means to be a repatriate in South Africa. I am a privileged repatriate. I sit on the minister's social cohesion advocate. I speak to any minister I want in this country because of the work that repatriates have done. But we need to go deeper. We can't just do intellectual stuff. We can't just do theoretical stuff. South Africa, the country of my soul, has worked on the World Conference Against Racism. We still have to ask for the reparations of Africans. You know, the Ma'afa is still something that must be recognized by Africans in Africa. Ma'afa must be taught. Ma'afa must be recognized because it is a real tragedy that happened to Africans when they left the continent. And Mam Batabile Dlamini has always understood and respected the role of the diaspora, which is why I get to sit on any platform to sit on. So I'm saying that thing must be real, Vereen. It must be real. I must show people what we're gonna do.
I hear you, my sister, and repatriation is on our 10-point action plan. And I think that those who are going to organize future fora have heard you. It is very important to listen to all sectors of our family. And I thank you for bringing that to us today. So I don't know, Honorable Minister, I think Mrs. Davis-Mattis wanted you to speak a bit too. I'm trying to see, has Minister left? I don't know. I know she has to go. I'm not seeing Honorable Minister.
But Prof, if I may, since she just to advise that the government of Jamaica has announced the formulation of a policy on reparatory justice, and that is in keeping with the mandate of the National Council on Reparations to advise the government on the path to reparations. So that process will engage with a number of island-wide consultations, as well as consultations with the diaspora generally. So I know that the COVID pandemic has put a little spanner in our wheel, but we do plan to start the consultations as early, I think, as March, as soon as we have concluded what the terms of reference are to be with respect to the policy. So that's that I wanted Minister to re-announce it herself, but you know,
I'm not seeing her, and she perhaps had to leave for Parliament.
Yes.
So, but of course, we're all grateful to her for all that she continues to do. So all that is left for me to do now is to thank on your behalf the organizers, including, of course, the South African High Commission and her team, to thank Honorable Olivia Grange, Ms. Bahar Singh, Joan Archibald, and the team from MCGES. I thank the technical operators from the media houses involved in broadcasting this forum. And of course, a big thanks to those on the program, including our artists. We thank Mrs. Davis-Mattis and of course our panelists, because our panelists from South Africa enriched our understanding of what it means to be Pan-African, what it means to have similar histories. Together, our speakers have highlighted the multidimensional force of women in South Africa and the movement that toppled the oppressive apartheid regime, shaped a democracy and continues to influence its development. We also benefited from the ministerial address of the Honorable Olivia Grange, CD, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, who brings to the table, as you heard from her, decades of contribution to cultural development and the political landscape from her adolescence. And of course, we heard her struggles from her own lips. When we look across the broad sweep of history in both our countries, we must marvel at the contributions that women have made to the anti-colonial struggle and decolonization struggle. Lucille Mathurin-Mir has long reminded us that each time we're tempted to ask, where on earth did such women, the so-called subordinate sex, get the nerve to confront systems of domination, we should remember that, as she said, it came from their very subordination, the moral force of the powerless confronting the powerful. And in the case of militant Caribbean women, from their ability to draw strength from that inheritance of ancestral spirits from that other side of the ocean. These ancestral spirits continue to provide inspiration for women. So let us join hands from Jamaica to South Africa to Namibia to all of our people across the world in the grand project of iconic reclamation and decolonization. And remember Jules Ellinger's words, there has never been a statue or monument or plaque we could add erected to the memory of someone who let well enough alone. Sometimes we have just to disturb our neighbor. Women on both sides of the Atlantic have done that, and we will continue in the present to do that until human rights and social justice are secured for all. And since someone mentioned Bishop Tutu, I have to end with a quote from him.
Professor?
Minister is back.
Yes, I got technical problems.
Oh, I'm so happy you are back. So we were giving the last word to you.
while I was bounced off, I watched on my phone. So I didn't hear what was going on. But I'm going to allow you to end with the quote. You know, just want to say I was listening, and I thank the chair for speaking of the policy.
Yes, because she wanted to give you, to ask you to do that, but she did that.
Yes, and just want to thank everyone.
Yes.
To say we're stronger together.
Stronger together.
And together we will do great things.
Yes.
So I leave the pleasure to you to end with the quote.
Yes, I was just saying, you know, remember that we have to stand firm, stand together, and fight injustice. And I wanted, because our South African sisters mentioned Bishop Tutu, I wanted to just end with his quote. If you are silent in the face of injustice, you have joined the side of the oppressor. We're not joining no side of no oppressor. So we know what we have to do. And I'm told we're going to go to music. If that's there, let's do that. But let us put our hands together to thank everyone who participated, those who are on our various social platforms, or media experts. Thanks everyone, High Commissioner, our President, Ms. Banda, and of course our Minister, all our RTs. Thank you so much. So much love from us on this side to you on that side, and I know you give it back. So thanks everyone. It was my pleasure to shepherd you through today's scenario and today's forum.
Thank you too.
Ba-ba-doo, ba-doo, ba-da-dee, da-dee, da-dee, da-ba-ba-doo, ba-da-doo. Ba-ba-doo, ba-doo, ba-da-dee, da-dee.
Professor, you're still there?
Color of my skin, color of my skin, color of my skin. Black is the sin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my skin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is the sin, I ain't apologizing. Capture that from our homeland. Sold us into a foreign land. What woe, what pain, what misery. 400 years of slavery, shackles, scars, and degrading. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is the sin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my skin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is the sin, I ain't apologizing. Proudness of our heritage and history. Brand us like animals, they scorn us mentally. Use us for entertainment and debauchery. Destroying the family. Let's fight the demons of slavery. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my skin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is the sin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my skin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is the sin, I ain't apologizing. Let's rise above hypocrisy. Use education as our directory. Free our minds with positivity. Work together as a family, and God will shape our destiny. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my skin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is the sin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my skin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is the sin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes to the color of my skin. Black is my skin, I ain't apologizing. The color of my eyes, the color of my skin. I ain't apologizing for my black skin. Proud of me blackness. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Proud of me black skin, Mama Africa, I want my come from you. Me say me proud of me black skin. Me nah go bleach out my black skin. Me say me proud of me black skin. Nah go bleach out this black skin. No, 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 no. Black skin, proud of me black skin. Yeah. Apologize. No, 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 no. Proud of me black skin. Yeah. Proud of me black skin. Yeah.
Thank you.
Everyone be well as we go. Thank you so much.